Good morning. Yay. I'm so happy to be here, and I welcome all of you personally, and all the people watching on Zoom, and all the people later on listening, and especially Reverend Eileen. We miss you. And I want you to know something. Look, no notes. This is an experiment. Let's see how it goes. The title is Opening Up, Expanding at the Top, and I want to go to the subtitle of this month's theme, which is Sticking the Landing. Most of you know that English is not my mother tongue, and I was ill acquainted with that expression. What the heck does that mean, sticking the landing? I know you know, in the meantime I do, that gymnasts are encouraged and applauded for landing after all the turbulence and jumping around on their feet without rocking or losing their balance. That's called sticking the landing. I am delighted to share with you that all my landings have been sticking the landing, and I'm not boasting. Most landings are sticking in my head because I fell flat on my face. So I'm not that good at landing on my feet. And I was thinking, who do I know who is really good at landing on their feet, sticking the landing?
Your cats.
Damn right, my cats. We have a cat. George and I have a cat. Well, let me rephrase that. A cat has George and me, and her name is Lady Tiger Toe. You know she's a lady, you know she's a tiger. Oh, if you want to hear about the toe, we can do that over coffee. Lady Tiger Toe does something that I have never observed in another cat. But before I tell you what she does, let me give you some scientific fact. A healthy, fit cat can jump 6 times its height out of a sitting position. We're not taking a run and then jumping, sitting and flying up 6 times its height. Number one. Number two, it is a well-known fact that cats land on their feet. Whether they fall off the coffee table or the balcony of a high-rise building, chances are very excellent that they're going to land on their feet. How come? How come they just go splat? Well, scientists have researched that, and they have found that cats have a mechanism called the self-righting mechanism. It's part of their brain, no matter where they are, they self-right. Imagine that. I want that. I'd like to self-right occasionally. Adjust. And so back to what Lady Tiger Toe does. She loves to be on the dinner table when George and I are eating our meals. It's not about the food, it's about the company. And what she does is she sits on the kitchen floor, looks up at the table, has no idea what's on the table except for George and me, and takes this flying leap. And she goes higher than the table, looks down on the table, and in one glance, assesses the situation and moves her body so she doesn't land in the spaghetti. It's the most amazing thing. We watch her. It's almost like slow motion. She flies up into the air, and just as she's about to come down, she looks and she shifts. She adjusts her entire body to land feet on the table and not in the soup.
Wow.
I went to her and I said, I want that. How do you do that? Because I jump into situations without looking, and I often, as I already said, land flat on my face. What is this mechanism? And she said, you have it too. Everybody has it. I said, how would you know? She said, it's called GPS. I said, if I remember correctly, you've never even been in a car, so what do you know about global positioning systems? She says, that's not what I'm talking about. GPS stands for God's perfect suggestions. Is she clever? So I said, okay, God's perfect suggestions. How do I get to them? Or even better, how do they get to me? And now we're back to opening up at the top. And we're not going to go into the crown chakra and all the chakra systems. If that's of interest to you, you check that out for yourself. Just know that if we have an opening, we have an opening, and if we consciously allow for God's perfect suggestions to come in, we will be guided to land on our feet. Well, this sounds really good in theory, so I want to give you a practical application of that. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, says, I don't care for students who can cite chapter and verse about how the law works. I like students who demonstrate in their lives what it looks like when these principles are applied. Show me your demonstration. Don't give me your theory. So I'm going to give you my demonstration. One afternoon, I suddenly thought, what is George doing? I had no reason to think that. George and I live in this big house, and he's there, and I'm here on 28 acres. We could be anywhere. But suddenly I had this, what is George doing? I went looking for him, and I found him upstairs on his knees. I said, what are you doing? He said, something is very wrong. Will you please take me to the emergency room? He was ashen-faced. Now, some of you know that we live in Philo. Philo is exactly equidistance between two hospitals, Fort Bragg and Ukiah. It's an hour's drive in either direction. So I'm trying to figure out what is the more promising emergency room, which one will take him quicker, which one might have a cardiologist on staff. And as I'm walking downstairs to prepare the car, I hear a voice. And the voice says, call 911. I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to argue with inspiration. I have a tendency to second guess good advice. And so I argued. I said, that's really stupid. What is 911 going to do? We're on top of a mountain on a dirt road. They're never going to find us. Call 911. When it said so for about 7th time, I went to the phone, I called 911. And when the dispatcher said, what's your emergency, ma'am? I didn't know what to say. I did not know what was going on. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I don't know what's happening. And the same voice who said, call 911 said, my husband is having a heart attack. I almost turned around. Who is talking? They said, we'll be there, we'll come. 3 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. Now, I want you to know we live in the wilderness, we live way up on the mountain. What I have forgotten is that our next door neighbor was voted the volunteer firefighter of the year, and he's a first responder. I forgot. He knocks on the door. He says, I just got news that George is having a heart attack. Ben Klaus stood there within 3 minutes of my 911 call. Wow. I watched him with his phone bringing in the ambulances, the fire trucks, the first responder. Within 15 minutes, it looked like a parking lot full of fire trucks. He brought in a helicopter that landed in a next door neighbor's field.
Oh my gosh.
The first responders took one look at George. Yes, he's having a heart attack, for sure, for sure. bundled him up, put him into the helicopter, flew him to Santa Rosa, where the foremost heart attack expert of California was visiting.
Oh, boy.
He's the most renowned cardiologist in San Francisco, and he occasionally visits Sutter Hospital, and he was there. And they took George out of the helicopter straight into treatment and into surgery.
Oh, my.
Why am I telling you this story? Because I heard God's perfect suggestion, and I followed it. Now, there's a lovely part of that story. George had his heart attack 3 days before his 82nd birthday. So since I was on a roll, I said to my higher power, whom I choose to call God, do you think he could be home for his birthday? 3 days. And God spake unto me thusly. I can't see why not. I want you to know that 3 days later, on George's 82nd birthday, I drove to Santa Rosa to pick him up. He was heavily stented, 5 stents, and rosy-cheeked. And in his pocket, he had a parchment with a red ribbon. What the hell is that? New lease on life. So here's my question. Do you hear the perfect suggestions of your higher power? Do you hear them? In some traditions, it's referred to as the still small voice. So I was wondering, why does it have to be still and small? Why can't it be loud? There wasn't a whisper, call 911. Wasn't like that. Call 911. That's the voice of it. And so I have a wonderful invitation for you. For those of you who can hear the voice, but it's small and still and it's whispering, would you be willing to admit that it is us who have the volume dial?
Yeah.
Why is it so small and still? You know why? Because the world is a noisy, bloody place. The news and the tapes that play internally. Thank you, Christopher. All the noise. The voice isn't small and still. We could actually choose right now, and this is my invitation, to turn up the volume and make that the loudest voice.
Yeah.
I invite you to take a moment to close your eyes. You're totally safe. I'm holding you in tremendous love and affection and support and compassion. And I ask you to go inside and find the dial that is low and small. And when you find it, if it is your desire to hear the perfect suggestions of the God of your understanding, if that is your desire, turn the dial up. Turn it so it actually hits, it can't go any further. And then watch what happens to your life. When you have completed that, just open your eyes and come back, knowing that this new year is going to be very different. Your GPS has just been turned up. We all have made the decision, those of us who have, to listen. And you know, for me, it's not just a matter of listening. For me, it's a matter of agreeing and following. I have always heard the voice of my higher power. And often in the past, I've said, I don't think so. I want to talk about higher power, God, spirit, whatever you call it. Yes, we are expressions of it. Yes, we have all the attributes of God, and not every part of us knows that. There are inner children who haven't got a clue. In fact, if you say to somebody, I'm an expression of God, some people might say, oh, she's a bit arrogant, isn't she? But that's who I am. We were talking about shamelessly courageous. How about we shamelessly, courageously admit who we really are, rather than playing small? Marianne Williamson, who is the book that you're teaching, Janet, has a very wonderful saying. It's so great that Nelson Mandela took it for his inaugural speech. And so he's accredited with having said that, but he actually quotes Marianne Williamson, who says, why are you playing small? Why are you hiding your light? By not hiding your light, by admitting who you really are, you give automatically permission to everybody else to do the same. I invite you to drop the faulty, fake, humble, I'm a little wormy sinner, life is happening at me, rather, and admit, I am a power being with every quality that God has, because I'm an expression of God. And I'm not the exception, we all are. Some of us just didn't know yet. And as such, we have the power, the intelligence, the love to make choices for ourselves and for everyone that are constructive, life-enhancing. Would you like that? Who wants that? Ooh, good. So I want to talk about the relationship to the higher power. I was raised in a rabid Christian sect, and it was a very difficult way to live. I knew at a very early age that God had already written the ticket to hell for me, that my name printed on it, and everything I did was wrong. It was a no-win situation. And then later on in life, I realized that the reason my life is not enjoyable, or as enjoyable as it could be, I have the wrong higher power. I have a God who is reluctant, who's way out there, busy with other people, gets really annoyed if I say hello. I'm busy, there's a war going on. And I realized I want a higher power who's there for me. And I did a job description for my higher power. Now, is that the most blasphemous thing you've ever heard? I said to God, this is what I want in a higher power. If you can do that, great. If not, forget it. I'm not interested. Shamelessly courageous? Yes. So I tell you, the top condition that I laid out in my job description was, you are my higher power, and you don't give a shit about anybody else. I'm such a mess, I need a 24-hour higher power. You cannot worry about the starving children in Biafra, they have their own higher power. I want you to be my higher power. I don't want you to forgive me, ever. Because if you have to forgive me, you're a judgmental prick. I want you to adore me with all the silliness I'm going to produce, with all the falling flat on my face because I haven't yet figured out the GPS system. I want you to love me just the way I am and just the way I'm not. I want to make completely clear that it's not my job having to worship you and try to please you and try to figure out what the plan is for me. I want you to love me and show me. And the last condition, which was non-negotiable.
No.
This was the deal breaker. When I ask a question, I want an answer, and I want it now. Take it or leave it. And God said, I'll take it.
Wow.
I want to share with you my most treasured experience in getting an answer from God. You already know that George and I live on 28 acres in the forest. And so every year we have to clean up, make fire prevention, so our forest is like a park rather than strewn with dead trees. And so we do a lot of burning. And it was my job one morning to go and check on a fire, an ash heap of a fire that we had tended the day before. And I walk out into the forest, it's morning, the birds are singing, it's one of those absolutely ridiculously perfect moments. I'm the right weight, I'm the right age, I'm married to the right man, it's all good. And in this sense of great gratitude, I also felt a little cocky. You know, that shameless courageousness. And I look at the sky as if God lived there. And I said, hey, I have a fun idea. Why don't you prove yourself to me? Right here in the forest. This should be good. And I don't want some stupid little thing like there's a fern flapping in the breeze, that's your answer. No. I want it in bold, recognizable print. I love that. What a provocation. Let's see if I have a higher power who is smart enough, wizard enough, loving enough to actually respond to this insane request. I walk up to the ash heap. It's about 3 feet of ashes. And remember, my provocation is prove yourself to me. On top of this ash heap is a little piece of unburned newspaper. Don't ask me how it got there. And I pick it up and it says, how much more proof do you need? I have it framed. I look at it every morning. Because I'm the kind of person who needs to be told again and again and again. Can you relate? I mean, how many miracles do we need till we can actually relax into that trust, into that deep, unshakable knowing that we're okay no matter what it looks like and no matter what it feels like. I have a new sentence. It's okay even if it doesn't feel like it. That's a beautiful sentence. I judge if things are okay by how I feel. So if I'm frightened or insecure, there must be something wrong with the situation. No, it's okay. It's okay. It just doesn't feel like it right now. So I want to share with you a tool that I use in my communication with my higher power. It's called a God box. Have you heard of a God box?
Yes.
This is mine. This is what mine looks like. I have on it the text engraved. Whatever is contained in this box is. That comes from Esther and Jerry Hicks. It's one of their affirmation sayings. And I have recommended to the people I've worked with as a therapist or as a sponsor that they get a God box. One woman said, I don't think I can do that. I said, in your case, get God can. Because God can, you obviously can't. So if you have trouble with the God box idea, get a God can. Fold your coffee can, perfect. And here is how it works. Most of us, from our early childhood training, are in a pleading stance towards the higher power. Please, please, please don't let my cat die. Please, please, please let George survive the heart attack. That's the child pleading to the Heavenly Father. But when we recognize who we really are, that we are expressions of God, we can use a different way to express our desires. We express them as a thank you note. So I want you to know my God box is chock-a-block full with thank you notes. Thank you that George is surviving this heart attack. Thank you that my cat can teach me how about GPS. Thank you that I get to share my love with you this morning. So if anything is very challenging for me, and it is, it is the human playground, I write thank you notes. Thank you that this is handled. And once a year, George and I open our God boxes and we look at the pieces of paper. And we had an amazing experience a few years ago. I was a mortgage broker, and there was a family in the Anderson Valley who was about to lose their property, their home, because they couldn't find a lender. And I worked very hard to put together a package, and I shopped around and I couldn't get them a loan. When I found a real estate agent, mortgage broker in Los Angeles, and she said, I have a lender. Here's what we're gonna do. You send me the package, you've done all the work for weeks and weeks. I have the lender, we get this solved and we split the fee. I said, yes, that's beautiful. Within days, the loan was complete, the family got to keep their home, and the woman said to me, you're shit out of luck, I'm keeping the whole fee. Because you have nothing in writing, do you? Have a nice life. I tell you, one of the things that is hardest for me to deal with is injustice. Yeah. To be ripped off so blatantly and without apology. So I put it in my God box. Thank you, God, for lifting my resentment out of my heart. I had sleepless nights, I was so upset. So fast forward a year, we open our God box and I take out all the pieces of paper. And yes, that came true, and yes, that came true. And I said to Joe, who the hell was Diane? And he says, it's that bitch that ripped you up. Oh yeah, forgot about Diane. I forgot. Can you believe that? That's a big one to forget. So what I recommend, what I offer you as an invitation, is to make your own God box. You can make it beautiful, it can be a cigar box, you can decorate it. And know that it's a bit like a letterbox. And I'm not saying you're sending a letter to Daddy in heaven, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're actually externalizing by writing what it is that you desire, and by saying, thank you that I got this already. You have claimed it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Who is willing to have a God box or a God cat? Good, 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 good. I have the latest illustration of my higher power answering me from this morning. I love it when it's fresh. Last night before I went to bed, I said, I'm gonna give this presentation, my gift, without any pieces of paper. I'm just gonna, I know what I wanna say, I'm just gonna let it flow. Am I on the right path? Because George, who is a teacher and an intellectual, has reams of written pages. I mean, his speeches are fantastic, but he comes at it from a different angle. So my last question before falling to sleep was, am I on the right path? This morning I wake up and there is a Persian carpet running from my bed to the door of the bedroom. And half the Persian carpet is covered in rose petals. The last December roses that I had in a crystal vase on the windowsill in the night let go and scattered my carpet, my path with rose petals. I know with you and for you that your path is strewn with rose petals. that the year that's coming is full of surprises and healing miracles and great insights. We will settle for nothing less. And I want to end with a beautiful saying that I just found. The best way to predict the new year is to design it. Thank you.